Vaccination numbers rise. MADANG records 3 new cases. And a new school for rural communities. Good evening and welcome. This is Monday's news. I'm Kilawani. Dr. Joseph Apa, who is in charge of the Eastern Highlands Provincial Hospital Health Authority, says the situation in Goroka is unpredictable. 19 patients who contracted COVID-19 were put on oxygen support at the Goroka General Hospital yesterday. There is demand for more oxygen supply at the hospital.
Eastern Highlands is managing a surge in COVID-19, a situation that has been described as unpredictable. Dr. Apa, CEO of the Provincial Health Authority, says more people are now turning up to be vaccinated after seeing an increase in confirmed COVID-19 cases.
A lot of people are turning up now. It's like somebody need a bit of push. So with the COVID, with the outbreak now, we see a lot of people lining up to get our vaccinations.
Okay.
All the government departments, banks, they're coming to get vaccinated.
The Goroka General Hospital has become an epic center, treating patients who contracted COVID-19. With a bed capacity of 120, doctors, nurses and other medical staff are working long hours to contain the spread of the respiratory disease. Though patients are recovering from COVID-19, the hospital has recorded an increase in the last 2 weeks.
Almost everybody recovers from COVID-19 when they're very, very sick. Most of the deaths that we have here, they're dead on arrival. And that occurs at the A&E or somewhere. But in the ward, it's much less. So most of them recover, definitely, yeah.
Prime Minister James Marape, in a media conference yesterday, says vaccination is the way forward to living with COVID-19. The same message is being told to locals in Goroka.
The indication now people are now running to be vaccinated as a result of what is happening. So maybe we needed this to know that we are not superhuman beings. No. We have to be responsible to ourselves, to our family and to our country.
With the only oxygen plant at the hospital still in need of repair, the supply of oxygen remains a constant need.
Okay, the cylinders are with high pressure. If people need a lot of oxygen to really bring up the saturation or level of oxygen in the body, then we need the cylinders system, even on ventilators or other things. So we. Every day, and with more people come in, more, you can't just, control it because when the demand is there, you need to use it. It's unpredictable. So that's what's happening now. So there are two sources. One is concentrators that we get the oxygen from the air and then...
Yesterday, the Manalos Aviation airlifted oxygen cylinders to the Goroka Hospital, and today a team of health workers from Port Moresby arrived in Goroka to assist the medical staff.
With this experience, we are now planning to have our population vaccinated up to 70% or so by next year. We are now going in a major way. We are now planning to get most of our citizens or population here vaccinated. And that's the only sure way of breaking the cycle. And
Thaklagunga, National MTV News.
The Accident and Emergency Department at MADANG Hospital is seeing an increase in respiratory cases. Emergency physician Dr. Gawi says while most patients are being treated for pneumonia, asthma and other mild symptoms, they are also tested for COVID-19. One patient tested positive with COVID-19 after being admitted with high blood pressure. The hospital has so far recorded 3 patients with mild to moderate symptoms of COVID-19.
Since last Thursday, the hospital has admitted 3 COVID-19 patients. The patients presented themselves at the hospital with other underlying conditions and were later tested positive for COVID-19. Emergency physician Dr. Gawi says most patients go in with other underlying sicknesses, but most were not tested for COVID.
All comers are on the vulnerable comorbid sickness, high blood pressure, heart attacks and all these other things. We were lacking in behind to do testing that's why we did not pick them out earlier. But since 3 weeks ago we was identifying more case definitions for COVID-19, and when we started doing that, and also with the recent rise in COVID from West Sipik, Darun, also under Bogoroka, we managed to pick up 3 cases so far.
Emergency physician Dr. Gawi says the A&E department uses 2 oxygen cylinders in a week, especially to treat severe respiratory and asthma cases that need oxygen.
Looking at how the current trend, well, Sigma with two bottles, now also calculating 30 patients like severe cases per day. With the recent influx of cases went up probably 60 or 70 per day. Then by me close to using was 5 per cylinder. And this also poses another risk. Run shortage. This was also raised an issue in which the management now is looking for ways to beef him up stock oxygen cylinder from lay coming up also. And also with the recent meeting now, having one director curative now Narabla. There's a person in Mosby that came down already from the NDOH, and also donor partner installing more humidifiers. So we're going to start using all the humidifiers in all one ward here located in the event that oxygen cylinder delay located. But the constant supply of us getting oxygen cylinder is also being looked into it.
Madang Provincial Health Authority CEO Fidelis Waimpang says the hospital has enough oxygen supplies for its inpatients only. The hospital would need more oxygen if there is a surge of COVID-19 or Delta variant in the province.
At this point in time in our hospital environment, we have enough for current inpatients. And if there is a surge, then we might look at requesting for more.
Another challenge the hospital is facing is COVID patients' accessibility to the ablution facilities. A diversion was created for patients admitted with other sicknesses to access ablution blocks in other wards, while COVID patients will use the A&E facility.
The ones that are tested positive COVID-19, all using facilities from here. But the safety team and our standards team will come up for wash down and clearing on a spot-on basis.
The hospital management is working to set up the COVID-19 isolation ward for positive patients within the hospital area. The hospital is now limiting the number of patients going to the A&E department and is planning to bring the outpatient services to the urban clinics. The emergency department will only see severe cases from referrals coming in from the rural and urban clinics in order to minimize patient congestion.
Especially the ones that are severely traumatized now, or lines that all got all severely illness. I'm just like the soul, you all in there.
Madang province has no isolation facility to put COVID-19 patients. The proposed long-term plan to set up the isolation center at Yagam Lutheran Hospital 1 year ago is still yet to complete. For the time being, a ward with a 30-bed capacity was fenced off and preparation work was done to isolate COVID patients. Martha Lewis, National EMTV News, Madang.
The Madang Hospital still maintains the Nupla Passing Act. Dr. Gawi says the main emphasis is for frontliners to get vaccinated. Meanwhile, the hospital is limiting the number of outpatient numbers while screening and monitoring is effective today.
Screening is going to be going back up on the gate as we speak. We're going to tighten the security up there. There's a lot of influx of people going in and coming out. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to tighten up all entry and exit point locally inside the department. Also putting back one random testing area in the front. And then also beef him up manpower inside the department and also to the COVID isolation ward.
All Search Limited has signed an agreement with the PNG National Control Center for COVID-19 to administer the rollout of COVID vaccination to its staff and the general public. OSL Executive Vice President Leon Baskens said the company is happy to play a major part in the community by working with the national government and the NCC to manage the spread of the virus. Baskens said to date the company has conducted more than 54,000 tests, distributed over 450,000 PPEs, and administered over 1,300 doses of AstraZeneca and the J&J vaccines. Meanwhile, the head of COVID-19 vaccination ministerial task force, Api Kasman, said the government is now engaging directly with companies with registered medical staff so they can administer the vaccines. He further called on all businesses and companies to register their interests in receiving vaccines through the NCC. This is National MTV News. More stories when we come back. Welcome back to the news. A new school in a community that borders Eastern Highlands and Madang is yet to be registered, but hundreds of eager students have already started attending. The Maria Elementary School in Goroka's Minamalo LLG was established mid this year to allow children access to education after more than 10 years. A volunteer teacher, Doris Wesley, said they are in the process of having the school registered.
This is the newly established Maria Elementary School in Goroka's Minamalo LLG. It started operating mid this year to cater for children in the community. At the moment, they use these classrooms and have 2 trained teachers and 2 volunteers.
Because all plant beginning no sabe.
This is not the first time a school has been built in the area. Years ago, the Maria School was built and in operation for several years before it was closed down. Since then, children in the community have had to walk to the Madang Highway to attend school at Kesawai, and some are brought to Goroka. Parents often organize for their children to live with friends and relatives in order to avoid having them walk more than 10 kilometers every day. While the newly established school is yet to be registered, they already have over 100 keen children attending. Volunteer teacher Doris Wesley said they're working on registering the school and they will need better classrooms and facilities.
Government must look this school too. School must build up, I must grow. I must grow so.
Lucy Kopana, National, MTV News.
Jacob Wobia, the Ward 5 councillor of Gee Village along Kiunga-Tabubil Highway in North Fly District of Western Province, has advised students in his village to prioritize education. He said students in the district are preparing for the 2021 national exams starting next week. Mr. Wobia, who is also the Vice President of Kiunga LLG, is encouraging students to refrain from illegal activities that will destroy their education.
All must stop safe place. Now preparing more yet from one exam tasol. Through 1 week here, already not taking all these drugs, but already by establishing one good blah beginning, kind of some good blah beginning all by we go through about all these exams. And until one of my exam finish now, all I making more this like something. I'm making no organ meeting. But lo exam, and they cannot partake of these drugs, or even though they will not do anything, because education is very important to their life. As we parents, we must advise them. They must equipped, because there will be a next leadership for the future.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina is buying $0.2775 US, $0.3774 Australian dollars, $0.2311 euro, and 30.18 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee, cocoa, and copra closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, palm oil closed lower, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 482.54 points higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. You're watching MTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Taruba Rugby League Association ended its regular season on Saturday with the grand final played between Lamana Eels and the Gubuli Sharks. Eels claimed the 2021 trophy after defeating the Sharks 12 points to 6 in front of a packed crowd.
The crowd got on their feet as both teams ran out to take the field. "80 minutes of footy was played in front of the officials, PNG RFL Southern Confederate Director Gwaibu Mairi, major sponsor Nelson Lawyers, and the cheering fans. The grand final was intense as both teams, Lamana Eels and Gubuli Sharks, battled it out for the 2021 Nelson Lawyers Cup. Eels were in control of the first half, taking an early lead with 2 converted tries. The Sharks responded with a try before winding down the first 40 minutes. Building on the momentum in first half, Eels came out firing, but Sharks denied them with a solid defense. Both teams remained scoreless in the second stanza despite available opportunities to score. Eels came out victors of the 2021 Taruba Rugby League season, defeating minor premiers Gubuli Sharks. Awards were given for the season's outstanding players. These include the top try and point scorers, best backs, forwards, rookie and player of the year, and club of the year. Premiership winning team Lamana Eels received the cup and 1,000 kina, while runner-up Sharks walked away with 500 kina. Suli, Trukai Sports.
The sport of squash in PNG has been able to work within the current health guidelines to ensure the completion of the 2021 Port Moresby Open held at the Rackets Club from the 1st to the 3rd of October.
The 2021 Port Moresby Racket Club Squash Open held significant importance, not only in providing competition for the players, but also enabling PNG Squash Federation the chance to justify their case for inclusion in Team PNG's preparations for the upcoming Commonwealth Games.
PNG Squash Federation are really pleased to see the POM Open happening this weekend. We were given approval by the National Controller to hold this under very, very strict protocols, and it's very important. PNG Squash Federation needed to have the POM Open take place as we're under justification for the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham next year, and very pleased to announce that we have received endorsement for squash, and it's very for squash. PNG squash, it has always been quite successful in the region, and it's an opportunity we've got some amazing juniors coming up in the ranks to get some overseas experience. And unfortunately, PNG squash, the Commonwealth Games for PNG squash is for the next year is the only international tournament that we can see any representation, because the Mini and Pacific Games coming up don't have any squash facilities.
With a healthy turnout in the junior divisions of the Port Moresby Open, showing encouraging signs for the growth of the sport in the country. Even though players from outside centres were unable to attend, the Port Moresby-based players put up a good showing in a valuable hit-out for the juniors.
Junior development is the future for all sport, and for the past several years we've seen an excellent junior development training program happening for squash. And we've had great sponsorship and support in the community for that. So, yeah, we have some very promising male and female juniors. So we'll be pushing a very strong junior team for that. We don't have any Mini or Pacific representation. However, as we see countries start to open their borders again, we hope to see our Oceania events take place hopefully next year.
Huxley Lovai, Trukai Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather report is next. All the details after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
Looking at the weather forecast throughout the country for tonight and tomorrow, southern region, Port Moresby, Alotau and Popondetta, partly cloudy. Daru, mostly fine, although partly cloudy at times. Kerama, mostly fine, although partly cloudy at times. And for the Momase region, Lae, partly cloudy with brief showers possible. Madang, partly cloudy with brief overnight showers possible. Wewak and Vanimo, partly cloudy with few showers. New Guinea Islands region, all centers, cloudy periods with few showers. And for the Highlands region, all centers, partly cloudy with patchy rain, then morning fog. Forecasts for small crafts for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru to Kiwai Islands to Kerama to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samurai Islands, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Samurai Islands to Cape Vogel and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands with waters of Cape Vogel to Huon Gulf to Finschhafen and waters of New Ireland to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through BTS Dampier Straits to Siasi Long Islands, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters north of Long Island to Madang, to Karkar Island, to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 0.5 to 1 meters. Ocean forecasts for PNG areas. Coral seas, seas moderate with southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots. Solomon seas, seas slight with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck seas, seas smooth with southeast winds at 5 to 10 knots. Pacific Ocean, seas slight with northeast to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Monday, 4th of October 2021. Until next time, pleasant viewing, be safe, bye for now.